Rey Mysterio is a wrestler who is impossible not to like. He's one of those wrestlers who create our childhood and make us fall in love with pro wrestling. However, there have been dark days in his career that, despite previously offering days of brotherhood and trust, turned into a total hell for Rey Mysterio.
It's time for the repeat wrestling.
In 2009, at Bragging Rights, there was a clash for the World Heavyweight Championship held by The Undertaker. He competed in a fatal four-way match against CM Punk, Batista, and Rey Mysterio. Once best friends who had conquered WWE together, winning multiple tag team titles, they were now divided by the pursuit of gold, which none of them managed to claim on that night, as The Undertaker emerged victorious from the match. After an exhausting battle, Batista took the microphone and declared that he was tired and that his best friend had stabbed him in the back. Dave was blinded by the opportunity to win the World Heavyweight title and believed that Rey's presence in the match weakened his position, potentially causing him to lose. Rey Mysterio shook his head, indicating that it wasn't worth using such words, but it only fueled Dave's anger. He lunged at the master of the 619 with tremendous force, delivering a clothesline with great intensity. Then, Dave proceeded to not only physically, but also emotionally destroy Rey, shouting in his face, "You were supposed to be my friend." Rey pleaded for Dave to stop, but it only deepened Batista's frustrations, anger, and hatred. It was one of those moments where a sense of sorrow swept through the entire body of the fans. It truly struck at the heart. Years of friendship were buried, and the culmination of this was the match between Rey and Batista at Survivor Series 2009. The match did not have a happy ending, nor did it display any signs of respect, as the referee had to stop the match, because Batista had crushed Rey so severely during the bout that it was deemed a TKO-like ending. Rey had to be carried out on a stretcher, bidding farewell to Survivor Series in that fashion.
Another person who's close to Rey Mysterio's heart is the forever remembered Eddie Guerrero. After all, it was in Eddie's name that Rey won the Royal Rumble. I want to say that if it weren't for Eddie Guerrero, we wouldn't have the Rey Mysterio we know today, and that is a fact. However, Eddie once turned his back on Rey. At No Way Out 2005, the Latinos won the tag team titles against MNM, but things started getting strange because Eddie, instead of celebrating the title win, wanted to face Mysterio. They even had a match at WrestleMania 21, and it's worth mentioning that Rey Mysterio won that match. However, the real brutality from Guerrero came after they lost the titles. Many people would say that it was one of the best heel turns in WWE because fans loved the dynamic between these two. For fans who were watching SmackDown at the time, it was a shock. Guerrero's clothesline, the devilish look on Eddie's face as he tore the mask and buried their friendship by executing a massive suplex on the steel steps. Rey was devastated. Fans couldn't believe it. It was a complete wreckage. And speaking of such moments, this one was undoubtedly a pivotal moment in Rey Mysterio's career. At Clash at the Castle 2022, Dominic raised his hand against his father. Rey needed a tag team partner for a match against Judgment Day and chose Edge, who was the original creator of Judgment Day and wanted to compete in that match. Dominic was disappointed by this, considering that he and his father were former tag team champions. Over the tumultuous weeks, he was attacked by Judgment Day and told that he was wasting his potential, living in the shadow of his father's legend, and that nothing would change for him in that position. Furthermore, he was replaced by some old man in a match where he was supposed to compete. Something snapped in Dominic, and after the match, which was a victory for Mysterio and Edge, Dominic kicked Edge straight in the groin. Rey didn't know what to do and started panicking, asking his son why. Dominic declared that he would repeat history, and just like Batista and like Eddie, he hit Rey with a clothesline. It's interesting to note that Rey was often betrayed through such actions, and it was precisely because of this attack that Dominic chose Judgment Day. Later, when Rey was inducted into the Hall of Fame, Dominic didn't seem to be affected by it because he had plans to defeat his father at WrestleMania. Unfortunately, he couldn't accomplish that. Regardless, whether Dominic will eventually reconcile with his father remains a question. If you want more videos about Rey Mysterio, click on this video on the screen.